Today's focus is chocolate. As I go through this tutorial, please follow along with your confections activity packet. The first thing we're going to talk about in regards to chocolate is its quality. There's 4 criteria that falls under the quality of chocolate, and that's appearance, smell, break, and texture. First off, the appearance, chocolate should have a nice brown, solid color. It should have no discoloration. Some chocolate will be a little glossy, some won't have any gloss at all. It just depends on the ratio of cocoa butter to cocoa powder to liqueur, etc. The smell of the chocolate, it should just smell like chocolate. It should have a chocolatey smell without any other odors, and it should not seem stale. When you break the chocolate, it should have a nice clean snap. It should not crumble. If it crumbles, usually it's a sign that it's expired and old. And you could eat it, you probably won't get sick, you could, but it's just not going to have that same chocolate melt in your mouth kind of quality that you're looking for. And then that moves me into my next last criteria, which is texture. And chocolate should melt as soon as you put it in your mouth. It should melt very quickly when you apply any form of heat. The next couple of slides is going to talk about the types of chocolate. There are several types of chocolate that we want you to be familiar with. The first one is unsweetened. Now the pictures are a little messed up here, but in the bottom right hand corner, that is your unsweetened chocolate. Okay, this is an extremely bitter chocolate. So if you were to put this type of chocolate in your mouth, you're not going to like it because it's not going to have that yummy flavor that you're used to when you have chocolate. This unsweetened chocolate is usually used in baking. We've used it in Culinary Basics for brownies. You've used it this semester for the turtle brownies. You can use it for various things, but it's really to give that chocolate flavor, and then obviously in the recipe you'll add the other ingredients to make it taste better. But unsweetened chocolate is chocolate liqueur without any sugar or milk, so that's why it's so bitter. And as you can write down on your sheet, it has 53% cocoa butter and only 47% cocoa solid. So it's really pure out chocolate. Okay, it's going to have a great smell, just it's not going to taste what you think it should taste like. The next type of chocolate, which is right up here in the corner, is the bittersweet or semi-sweet chocolate. Now you can buy this in chocolate like chips, chunks, etc., but often it's also used for baking. So this is what it would look like if you were going to use it for baking. This has 35% chocolate liqueur, but it has additional cocoa butter and sugar and some other flavoring, so it's going to be a little bit more tasty to your palate. The next type of chocolate I want to talk about is called couverture. I want you to say it with me, couverture. Okay. This is what it looks like. It looks like chocolate chips. They're a little bit bigger tablets. This is the highest quality chocolate. It contains at least 32% cocoa butter. It's used by professionals because it's great. Most professionals don't want to take a risk with using a cheap type of chocolate because sometimes it's very hard to work with and it doesn't look as nice after it's been cooled. So couverture is going to have that higher quality and just makes the finished product look better. It's very glossy. It works great on confections and pastries. So usually you're not going to find couverture at like a local grocery store. You're going to order it from a specialty grocery store or a specialty chocolate company. Most couverture is going to be manufactured in Belgium. Moving on, the next type of chocolate is the milk chocolate, and that's right up here, the first picture. And you can see, if you compare the colors, milk chocolate is going to be a lighter shade of brown, obviously because it's going to contain milk solids. Okay. It also contains sugar, vanilla. It's the best chocolate in the United States. People love their milk chocolate. Okay. You do not want to substitute milk chocolate for any other recipe calling for dark chocolate, and the reason why is because the milk in the milk chocolate is going to cause it to burn. So you need to melt the milk chocolate very slowly to avoid any type of burning. So meaning you just have to keep an eye on it. The next type of chocolate is right here, chocolate chips. This comes in a variety of different types of chocolate, most commonly semi-sweet, and it comes in a variety of different sizes. As you can see, this just looks more like a morsel, where up here, these are more like tablets, like the couverture. They come in all different shapes and forms. But your true chocolate chip is going to look like that little morsel that you're seeing on the screen. Next is our chocolate chunks, and this is just like a chocolate chip, however it's in a chunk form. They're usually not very uniform, and the reason people would want chocolate chunks is to make like a chocolate chunk chocolate chip cookie, or add the chunks to brownies, and it just gives you more of that luscious chocolate flavor, and stays pretty whole as the baked product cooks. And then last but not least is the pistoles. This is just a round piece of chocolate, and it's great for tempering. Now, to introduce you to the concept of tempering, that's melting, okay? And again, the pistoles are it's very glossy, and they come in the tablet form. Again, this is not a type of chocolate you're going to find in the grocery store. Moving on, the next type of chocolate is white chocolate, which is an ivory color. It's the only one that's not brown, and the reason it's not brown is because it's not a true type of chocolate. It's a fake chocolate. It's usually labeled an actual coating in the United States. You can buy it in different forms by different brands, etc. It does have cocoa butter in it, but it doesn't have any chocolate solids, okay? It burns very easy, and the reason why is because it's fake. It doesn't have that naturalness like real chocolate does. So when you're melting your white chocolate, you usually want to add something like shortening or the paraffin wax, and that's just going to help smooth it out and helps it melt a little bit easier, smoother. It's very similar. Moving on to my next type of chocolate, which is the imitation chocolate. This right here is your almond bark, which is a very common imitation chocolate that we buy and use for Javachino. It tastes just like chocolate. It looks like chocolate, but it's not. It has high amounts of hydrogenated oils, so it melts pretty easy, but it feels very waxy in your mouth. Okay, so for our chocolate covered pretzels, it works great. Now, if we were going to go downtown and serve at a 5-star restaurant, and you want to make chocolate covered strawberries, you're going to use a couverture type of chocolate rather than this almond fake chocolate that we would use here at school. It tastes good. It's just we're more on a budget. Moving on to our next concept. So how do you store this chocolate? Well, first off, chocolate needs to be kept cool, a consistent temperature. You should never put it in the fridge or the freezer. That's going to cause what's called bloom. And if you look at my picture right here, that is bloom, chocolate bloom. It's not a form of mold or anything like that. It's a discoloration, and it's created when you store your chocolate at under the sunlight or in a pantry that's got really warm, above 70 degrees, and then you brought the temperature down and cooled it. Chocolate bloom is going to occur. The bloom also occurs, sometimes I'll see on the Javachino pretzels. We'll melt the chocolate, we'll dip our sticks, we'll put it on the rack, and then all of a sudden it has white streaks in it. That's the bloom. It's just because of improper melting methods, okay? So what ends up happening is the fat bloom occurs when the cocoa butter crystals rise on the surface. So that's what you're actually seeing. It's just the crystallization. All right. Moving us in, bloom occurs when chocolate is improperly tempered. Tempering chocolate is a method for melting chocolate, and what it means is you're slowly raising and lowering the temperature of melted chocolate, and you stir constantly until the chocolate is actually stabilized. Correctly tempered or melted chocolate will dry very rapidly, and it will be very glossy and have shininess to it, and when it will snap very clean and crisp, like what you're looking for with a good quality chocolate. Now, if you melt your chocolate improperly, that's when the bloom comes about, or the texture of the chocolate's very cakey, it takes a long time to dry, it sticks inside molds, things like that. And this would be an example of the bloom on the chocolate covered pretzels that I was talking about. It was improperly melted, improperly cooled, and that's what ends up happening. It doesn't look very desirable to eat. It almost looks like mold growing on chocolate. Another caution you need to be aware of when you're melting chocolate or tempering chocolate is if chocolate gets even a drop of water it can become lumpy. The lumpiness is called seizing. If this happens, you can actually try to add some shortening or some of the paraffin wax, and that will restore the chocolate and bring it back into its smooth texture that you're looking for. Another melting method or tempering method is called seeding, and what this means is you would melt 2/3 of your chopped couverture chocolate in a bowl, usually over a double boiler or in a microwave, and you would heat it just until it starts melting, okay, constantly stirring, etc., keeping below 90 degrees. Then once that chocolate, the first 2/3 of chocolate is melted, you would add the remaining 1/3, and you just keep stirring it until all the chocolate is melted, and that is known as seeding. I have a visual example to help you understand better. So 2/3 of the chocolate was all melt. We had a pound of chocolate, 2/3 of it we melted here in the bowl, and then you add the remaining 1/3 of chocolate, just to bring that chocolate, lower the temperature, and just help melt it all together. That technique is called seeding. As I said, you can also temper melt chocolate in the microwave. You would put your chocolate in a microwave sieve, dry bowl, no water, or else it will seize, and you microwave on a medium setting for about 10 to 12 seconds. It will, and then you take it out, stir, put it back in, another 12 seconds, take it out, stir until it starts to melt. This could take a minute, it could take 2 minutes. It kind of just depends on your microwave, but you really want to make sure you're doing those short intervals of time, because once chocolate, it burns, it could burn like literally the third 12 seconds, so you got to kind of be careful with it. Also make sure you're checking the temperature, keeping it below 90 degrees. With your tempered chocolate, you're actually going to see some videos on these, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. You can create chocolate decorations, and here right on the side, you see they've put the chocolate in piping bags, and they're making decorations. Once those cool, you just put them up right on top of a dessert just to add a nice garnish, enhancement to the dish. You can also make chocolate leaves, which you'll see a video demonstration on, and you'll also be doing it when we do our chocolate lab. And then last but not least, you can make chocolate cigarettes. Those are actually, they're like chocolate rounds, like tubes almost, used to decorate cakes, ice cream sundaes, etc. And you'll also see a short demonstration on how to make the chocolate cigarettes, as well as you'll have the opportunity to make some chocolate cigarettes when we have our chocolate lab. Thank you.